What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is going to be your review for the Real Housewives of Dallas season 4, episode 17, the reunion part 2. So, y'all know we were just trying to get to the nitty and the gritty. So let's go on and cut through all this other stuff. So they talk about the dress, right? Was it a funny joke? Was it not a funny joke? Blah, blah, blah. I think we kind of already hashed this out in the moment. Deandra thought it was going to be funny, but Deandra did admit that there was some shade with the dress. She said, part of me thought it was funny, but another part of me felt like, you know what? Time to give Leanne a little taste of her own medicine. Because Leanne is known to, do a whole lot of shady stuff. Going back, they brought up the Halloween party a few years ago where Leanne did the Two-Face character talking about Stephanie. And once again, in Leanne's mind, it's not the same. I apologize to Stephanie, and to me, it's just not a fair comparison. It's just not the same thing. But I will say, Deandra, at least I appreciate the fact that you owned up to the fact that you was throwing some shade, and yes, you were being funny, but you were also being shady. You may not have meant for it to go as far as it went, as far as with Carrie adding her little 2 cents to it, but you meant that thing. And I said it in a moment, and I'm glad you admitted it. Carrie also said that, in looking back at it, she was a bit extra. She said, I did mean to let Leanne know how I felt, but I may have overdone it with your dress, your dress is this and your dress is that and your dress. And so she admitted that maybe she did a little too much and that she really didn't mean to elicit the reaction that she got out of Leanne. And of course, that's when Leanne made her first little, racist rant about the Mexican. So there was that. They talked about going to the red light district. And once again, you know what? Let's look. Cameron and Leanne have clearly made up. Because everything Leanne said, Cameron was co-signing, excusing, justifying, whatever. And so Cameron was like, well, when I got back home, I Googled it and it was sex trafficking and we were supporting it. We've got to own that we were supporting sex trafficking. And look, this is what I'm going to say about that. Potentially, every time you click on Pornhub, you're supporting sex trafficking. Potentially, every time you go into one of these little, hole-in-the-wall shops and you go into the little booth in the back, you potentially could be supporting sex trafficking. Every time you go to a strip club, you potentially could be supporting sex trafficking. Let's be clear. I'm not making an excuse. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. But at the end of the day, to single out Thailand's red light district as if there was something going on there that was so ridiculously, over the top, so extra, so this and so that, I'm not going to go deep and start talking about racism again. I'm going to pull up. But I wonder if Leanne would have elicited the same response had they been in Amsterdam, which also has a very extensive red light district. I just wonder. Now, they read a tweet from Chrissy Teigen, John Legend's wife, who is from Thailand, who said, hey, I'm from Thailand. Every time I go home and visit, I go down to the red light district, and there's nothing going on there that isn't potentially going on everywhere else in the world. And again, that is not to excuse sex trafficking or to make light of sex trafficking. But at the end of the day, sex trafficking is a huge, huge, huge business, unfortunately. And, when you click on these porn videos, you don't know if these women are there because they want to be there, or men. You don't know if they're over the age. You know what age they're telling you. Same thing about, going into a strip club. And so, again, I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong, but I just feel like for Leanne to single it out and make it like they were doing this horrible thing and that like they purposely knew or they consciously knew that these women were being trafficked, And then they said She didn't seem to have a problem when they were at the drag show. When it was men, she didn't have an issue. She wasn't thinking, oh, these people could be here against their will and we're supporting the sex trafficking. They said she was singing along with the songs and everything. And of course she said, well, I was fine until they started bringing out their private parts. Again, you knew you were at a sex show. And that's the same thing with Cameron. Now, I'm going to say this, y'all. They were giving Cameron a hard time about saying she didn't really understand what it was, the full extent of where they were going. Once Cameron explained what she was saying, I believed her. Cameron said, I knew it was a sex show. And I knew, obviously, that the ping pong balls were going to be coming out of private parts. I didn't know they were going to be so explicit and showing us exactly where the ping pong balls were coming out and that we would be a part of the show, meaning the balls could potentially touch us. I would have freaked out too. Let me be clear. You let a ping pong ball that just shot out of a stranger's, ha, and it hit me in the side of my head, we got an issue. Houston, we have a problem. So I get it, Cameron. So anyway, there was that. They talked about Deandra and the business with Mama D. She said that basically once Mama D saw it play back, she realized how bad she looked and she kind of feels bad about how bad she looked. She's been a lot more supportive. We know that. We found that out at the end of the season. She's made some great deals. She has a partnership with LSN. She has a partnership with Dillard's. And if there's no Dillard's in your area where you live, Dillard's is like a high-end department store. Dillard's is somewhere between... I would say Dillard's is somewhere between like a Macy's and a Lord & Taylor. Somewhere in the middle. It's not quite Lord & Taylor, but it's not quite Macy's. It's somewhere, I would say, in the middle. And so that's a pretty good deal. She said that they're actually turning a profit. She said her mom paid off the lease for the office space because basically her mother acknowledges the fact that she made her sign that lease. And so she sort of was in it that she didn't want to be in it. She said that her husband is actually working full-time at the company and he's actually getting a paycheck too. And then people sort of were getting on her husband about him not having a job and he needs to go get a job and he needs to, if the artwork isn't bringing in enough money, he needs to go work. Well, she said basically, look, my husband is a disabled vet. He served this country for 22 years. Sorry, y'all. He served this country for 22 years. He does get a check for his disability. And, at the end of the day, what he's doing now is worth more to me than if he went out and got a job. He's supporting me. But now that he works there, he does understand where a lot of my stress and everything comes from with working at the company. I think, I know it's a reality show and they are there for us to critique. But I just don't feel like it's my place to tell somebody to tell their husband to go get a job in that situation. Now, I mean, there are other situations where I'm like, girl, if you don't tell that man to go get a job. But in that situation, I didn't necessarily feel that way because I felt like, I do feel like he served our country. I do feel like he has an income. It's just not, the term starving artist. I mean, he does artwork, and there are going to be times when he's bringing in great paychecks because he sold a piece of art, and then there are going to be times when he ain't making nothing. It's like if you marry an actor or actress. I mean, they potentially, the next script could be an Oscar award winner, and they become the talk of the town. Or they could do Campbell Soup commercials for their whole career. That's what you sign up for. I just feel like. But anyway, the other thing they brought up with Cameron and Leanne was when they were leaving that last night where they wanted Cameron to confront Leanne. And Cameron said, I had every intention of confronting Leanne. However, I feel like they stole my thunder because before we could even order the appetizers good, they started jumping on Leanne, and then at that point, I felt like I had to defend Leanne because then I felt sorry for her because everybody was jumping on her. And that is how that went down. That is exactly how that went down. It was like they didn't even give Cameron an opportunity to say anything to Leanne. It was like they wanted to steer the conversation, and when Cameron didn't respond fast enough or respond the way they wanted her to respond, then it was, Well, didn't you feel like this happened? Well, didn't you feel like that happened? Well, didn't you feel this? Well, isn't that what you told me? Well, isn't that what you said? And I understand, because at the end of the day, Cameron and Leanne were still friends. She didn't want to end her friendship with Leanne. She just wanted Leanne to understand what she did and how it made her feel. So, I think they're just fed up with Leanne, and they just want everybody to feel the way they feel. That's sort of how I picked that up. Then they had this whole thing with Cameron when she made the comment to Leanne talking about I'm not afraid of you, you should be afraid of me. And then they started getting into this whole Dallas society thing, and basically Cameron is very connected. We know, we've had this conversation before. Cameron's family, her husband's family is like Dallas elite. Like, they are the elite. They are the it. And yes, they can basically put you on the outs and oust you from Dallas society. And so Bravo Andy, y'all know how he is, honey. Bravo Andy was like, yeah, but that sounds very elitist. And earlier today you were so offended that Cameron would imply that you were elitist. And of course she ain't had no answer to that, because that's exactly what you did. Exactly what you did. I just want to make sure we got all the preliminaries out the way before we get to the main event, honey. Let me look at my notes. Let me make sure. Okay, so they started getting into the Leanne Carrie situation. And one of the things that came up was how Leanne showed up for the girls' night out without being invited. And Leanne started that whole, it's always somebody else. It's always somebody else. See, here's the thing, Leanne. This whole racist rant situation, it would not have, I don't think it would have gotten to the level in which it had gotten to had you made a sincere apology and understood exactly what you did wrong and meant it. They said that, because she was like, well, I went because Cameron invited me. Cameron asked me to go. And she was like, yeah, but you knew you weren't invited. So why would you go? You weren't invited. Well, I mean, and again, she was like, so it's Cameron's fault. I mean, again, nothing is ever Leanne's fault. It's always somebody else's fault. So then, so then we get into, the racist comments. Okay. Once again, Bravo Andy caught Leanne in a lie. She was trying to lie on production, and he called her ass out. So one of the questions they asked her was, why hadn't you reached out to Carrie in all of this time to apologize or whatever? And she gonna say, because they asked us not to. Bravo Andy was like, who asked you not to? And Leanne was like, well, production. Here go Andy. That's a lie. He said, Leanne, that's a lie. We never asked you. She said, I can show you the email from whoever the name was. They said that was from 3 days ago. You've had 6 months to apologize. Like, she said, but the episodes just started airing. So it wasn't until you saw the episodes play back that you thought you had done something wrong? So then once again, you still don't think you did something wrong. You're responding to the backlash and other people telling you did something wrong. I feel like you still don't feel like you did anything wrong. Y'all following me on that one? I ain't gonna rehash everything that was said. Y'all know what that woman said, and you can feel how you feel about it. What pisses me off is Leanne doesn't know how to just say, I screwed up. I was ignorant. I didn't understand. Because I think people can say, look, because here's look, y'all. For all y'all people that don't get it, here's the reality. People can say dumb shit out of ignorance and really, truly not get it. If you've never dealt with it, if you've never experienced it, you don't get it all the time. People get mad when we use the term white privilege. What Leanne is dealing with right now is an example of white privilege. She doesn't get what she's saying is so racist because she's never had to deal with it. And for her to keep making excuses instead of saying, you know what? I didn't realize that what I said could be taken in a racist manner. I am sorry. That was never my intention. I was pissed off. And I was saying things in anger. And I realized that my words hurt you. But instead of saying that, she kept, because she said all of that. But in between those statements, she kept peppering in excuses. You're going to say that the reason why you haven't reached out to this woman and apologized is because production asked you not to. I don't give a goody goddamn if I feel like I've made racist comments to somebody. I don't care who told me what not to say. I would have apologized to that woman. For you to say, oh, well, you know, we talk like that all the time in Texas. Everybody on that couch is like, don't you do that. Don't you do that. No, ma'am. Then she gonna say, well, I never knew that referencing someone's nationality was considered racist. Again, Leanne, you're not getting it. And that's the problem. Because you sat there and you made excuse after excuse after excuse. You took no responsibility for none of it. And even when Andy said, well, look, why didn't you just apologize to this woman? Well, she had always been so mean to me. I just didn't know how she would take it. And don't get me wrong, Carrie ain't my most favorite person either. Because I think Carrie got some shit with her. She does. She absolutely does. But Leanne, I just need Leanne to just say, I fucked up and I'm sorry. That's it. No buts, no ifs, no ands, no maybes, no if-I's. Just I screwed this up. And I'm sorry. Then at the end, she's doing this. And look, this little fake ass cry, you could clearly see she was trying to make herself cry. And then not a damn tear fell. Not a damn tear fell. Now, do I think Leanne is a racist? I don't. I think Leanne is ignorant. And I think Leanne made some racist ass comments out of ignorance. Do I think that she is actively being discriminatory towards people? I don't. But I thought it was really funny how she tried to throw something on Carrie, where I guess she figured she knew all this was coming, right? So Carrie made a comment about Leanne's wedding planner licking her butthole, right? And so Leanne tried to make that a homophobic statement, talking about, because you know her wedding planner was gay. Talking about something. Oh, so saying that he licks. Oh, so because he's gay, I guess he licks butthole. So that's not a homophobic statement, huh? And what was funny was I said, oh, so she trying to throw some stuff at Carrie because she know this racist stuff is coming. Baby, when I tell you Carrie took that thing up, bumped it up in a bowl and threw it right back at Leanne, and Leanne ain't know what to do with it. Here go Carrie. She said, are you calling my husband gay? And at first I thought Carrie didn't understand what Leanne said, right? I said, she call your husband. She said, I mean, because my husband licks my butthole all the time. It is very enjoyable, quite erotic. You and your husband should try it, Leanne. And Leanne didn't know what to do with that, because that is not what she was expecting to get back. But she was like, so you calling my husband gay? Because my husband licks my butthole all the time. And even Andy was like, yeah, I think that was a language situation where she was trying to say the man kisses her butt. And, she said licks her butthole. You know what I mean? I don't think that was but Leanne tried to turn that thing around, honey, and Carrie wrapped that thing up and threw it right back at her, and Leanne ain't know what to do with it. Anyway, y'all, I'm not going to sit here and rehash that whole back and forth. Now, the other thing that I thought was interesting was that they didn't think any of the footage was going to air. And so Cameron didn't say anything to Carrie about it until she found out that the footage was going to air. And Andy was like, Well, what made y'all think that that wasn't going to make it to the air? And Brandy said something I thought was interesting. Brandy said, basically what Brandy said was, because y'all have swept shit under the rug before when it come to Leanne, because Leanne makes y'all good money, because Leanne makes good TV. And that's what she said. And you can read between them lines, but that's what Brandy said. And so Andy was like, yeah, nah, you know this was going to make it. And so the question was, Cameron, would you have said anything had you not found out this was going to make it? I was going to tell her anyway. I was planning to tell her. Oh, but you didn't. And Stephanie, and see, the way Stephanie apologized is the way you should have apologized, Leanne, because they were coming at Stephanie because Stephanie didn't say anything to Carrie about Leanne's comments. And Stephanie was like, you're right. I was wrong. I was too chicken shit to say anything, and I should have. And for that, I apologize to you, Carrie, twofold. I apologize that I didn't check Leanne when she said it, and I apologize that I didn't tell you about it when it happened. See, that's how you apologize, because there's nothing left to say other than, thank you. I accept your apology. Anyway, y'all, that is season 2. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in, season 4, excuse me. Drop it in the comments. Peace.